All right, Tom, would you do the honors of introducing our very special guest?
Drum roll. Tonight we have the special honor of having Katherine Buggenhagen, our planned giving officer supporting this district, to talk to you about planned giving and the Rotary Foundation. And you've already heard Eric Thompson, one of her colleagues, compliment her and tell you of the way that she supports all of us in supporting the Rotary Foundation. Katherine.
Thanks so much, Tom. Can I share my screen? Will that work here? Do I have permission? Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Hopefully it's not the words and it's actually the slides. Thank you, Eric, so much. It was a wonderful, wonderful comments that you made. You know, as Eric said, he and I are partners. We work on a few things together. I will often lend my experience when we're talking about very complex gifts that people are trying to put together that involve both major gifts, outright gifts, and planned gifts. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about planned gifts and the endowment. And I'd like to start by asking if anyone here knows Paul Harris's middle name. If you do, you can put it in the chat. If you don't, that's okay. Does it really in any way diminish his memory or his legacy? I don't really think so. And that's because his legacy isn't about him, it's about us. It's about how we're empowered to change the world because of his ideas, his actions, and his planning. Now, later on in 1917, Arch Klumpf proposed an endowment to support Rotary International, and the Rotary Foundation was born. And at that time, he said, Rotary's tomorrow depends on what we do today. And that is as true now as it was then. Now, especially during uncertain times, the Rotary Foundation's endowment and the alternative giving strategies I'm going to share with you today have never been more important. The generosity and thoughtful planning of past Rotarians has not or was not deterred by the challenges that they faced during, for instance, the Great Depression, and more recently during the dot-com bubble, the Great Recession, or our current global pandemic. So because of their planned and outright gifts, the endowment now produces millions of dollars every single year to improve the lives of communities worldwide. And to put it simply, the endowment is Rotary's way of making an impact now and forever. It has also become a very powerful tool that you can use to amplify the impact that your own Rotary legacy can make. Now, I'm sure that everyone here understands the importance of regular giving regardless of size. Big or small, gifts to Rotary's annual fund provide vital support to people who need help now. And if we think of it as an apple, it's ready to eat, it's ripe. Now, every year, it makes a difference. It nourishes your community and those around the world. The world is a better place because of your annual gifts, but what if you had unlimited time and resources? How would you transform communities locally and globally over the next century or beyond? What if instead of sharing one apple, you planted its seeds to make apple trees and a lot more apples? Gifts to the endowment are a little bit like that. They are carefully nurtured to grow, providing a steady stream of funding to your favorite programs, the same life-changing Rotary programs supported by your annual fund gifts. The endowment also magnifies your support over time. When you step back and you take a look at the collective impact of all of your giving to the endowment, that's what we call your Rotary legacy. Your legacy is a tribute to your generosity, your philanthropic vision, and your dedication to service, also to your core values. And regardless of your goals and the size of your gift, Rotary's endowment will ensure that you will never stop doing good in the world. Now, it's important to establish a plan for your legacy early on so that the Rotary Foundation is prepared to fulfill your charitable goals. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of what kinds of gifts we offer, let's talk a little bit about your impact. It can be a little challenging to structure a meaningful legacy without a clear purpose. And some of you probably already know exactly what you want to accomplish. But if you aren't quite sure, start by envisioning a goal with a long-term impact and think about the future. Long after you're gone, how do you see your legacy changing the world? So don't think about the logistics or your bank account. Forget about the time that it might take or how many people are required to achieve your goals. In this exercise, you don't have to worry about any of the details. Simply ask yourself, how do I want to make people's lives better? To bring joy and hope and to show people that they're not alone. So as the plan giving officer for New Mexico, I'm here to help you plan that legacy, a legacy that works towards your long-term vision. And I can kind of help you work that out. And also we'll take a look at how it might fit your other needs, your lifestyle, your finances. Building a legacy is very personal. So you can always feel free to call on me, to reach out privately at any time. And I'm happy to help you work through that. So the most popular designation for gifts to the endowment is World Fund. Rotary is uniquely prepared to help care for and protect people and communities around the world so that gifts have a tremendous impact on the future by providing general support wherever it is needed most. Or you probably know very well that World Fund matches DDF for global grants and Polio Plus donations. Well, it also supports all of these areas, including our new programs of Scale initiative. You can also support any of Rotary's causes through the endowment, including our new cause, protecting the environment. Finally, you can choose to direct some of your spendable earnings from your Rotary legacy to your district. And this is really one that's quite popular. People want to support the things that future Rotarians in their own district are going to be doing. Planned and outright gifts designated to share through the endowment provide ongoing support for World Fund as well as district designated funds. Now, with a 100-year record of growth and impact, the Rotary Foundation is an organization you can trust to properly nurture your legacy so that it provides support for causes you care about every year while still fostering continued growth. And that's kind of the key, those are the key words, continued growth. This ensures that generations of Rotarians have the resources they need to design achievable, sustainable projects that fulfill your goals. Rotary is your partner now and well into the future. So supporting the endowment is unique from other ways to give to Rotary. It is a permanent source of funds, whereas the annual fund and annual gifts, they have an impact on lives today. And that's a lot of what people are very interested in doing, is making a difference now. But once that money is gone, it's gone. A lot like that apple. Once you eat it, it's gone. Now, I like to compare the annual fund to a checking account. It contains funds available for immediate daily use. And in contrast, the endowment is more like a savings account, earning and accumulating for continued security. It's like an apple tree that grows a new crop of apples every single year for you to use. And because the endowment grows continuously, so do your contributions to it. A gift of $25,000, for instance, to Rotary's endowment, whether during or after life, can yield $1,000 in spendable earnings every single year. And if you think about that, that is the same level of annual support as a Paul Harris Society member, but forever. So the potential impact of a legacy that is structured within Rotary's endowment is significant. I'll give you an example here. Gifts to the endowment, as I said, are invested and professionally managed to provide an ongoing stream of income that supports Rotary's local and global philanthropic work. Now, this enables your legacy to automatically provide support to Rotary programs every year, just like your gifts to the annual fund, except the support continues year after year and grows over time. And in this example, the one that I'm showing right here, this is for a named endowed fund, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a moment. So what you see here is a gift of $25,000 that was made in 1996. Over the next 20 years, it generated spendable earnings distributed each and every year. And those earnings over that 20-year period totaled $29,366 to support programs that this donor specified. Now, at the same time, this fund grew to a market value of $30,026. So not only did an initial gift of $25,000 generate more than its original value to do good in the world, it increased in value by 20%. Now that makes good economic sense to me, and I hope it does to you too. And I think it illustrates the key to building an influential Rotary legacy, and that is planned gifts now will provide quite a bit in the future. Now, gifts of $25,000 like this one or more qualify for a named endowed fund. And this is an opportunity to further customize your legacy in support of what you're most passionate about forever in your name or to honor a loved one. So you can create a fund with $25,000 or more. We will name that as you desire, designate it as you desire, with further customizable options related to the purpose of that grant. And this is just one more way for us to kind of give you a little bit more control over what your future dollars are going to be doing. But it also gives you a little bit more recognition. So named endowed funds are a great way to share your values with friends and family, and they can also show your children and grandchildren what causes are important to you, helping them discover their own passion for philanthropy. Now, as a matter of fact, District 5520 currently has 5 named endowed funds. One of those funds is providing ongoing support to the World Fund. That just happens to be a brand new fund that was created in 2021 by our own Tom Walker. Thank you so much. We also have 4 funds that are designated to benefit your district through the share system. So today, these 5 funds, these gifts alone have grown to a combined market value of $550,000. That's quite an impact. They're providing over $15,000 toward Rotary programs each and every year. And I'm happy to sort of talk as much as I can about them, but I'm going to move on a little bit, and I can always discuss a little bit more about these later. So how do you make a gift to the endowment? How is that different? Where does it go? Typically, gifts take the form of commitments, such as a provision in your will or other estate plan. This is a promise for a gift later that will have a big impact on the future, but not on your wallet. By notifying the Rotary Foundation of your commitment now, you can receive special recognition and help personalizing your legacy, for instance, with a named endowed fund. This type of giving is stress-free for the most part because it's easy to modify your commitment if you need to make changes to your long-term plans. Now, you can also create a strong legacy by making 1 or more outright gifts to the endowment during your lifetime. Outright gifts can take the form of cash or publicly traded securities or even real estate. And this method of giving provides you with a glimpse of your future, of your legacy's future. You can see the impact as it's happening. You can see the value of your gift grow over time and watch as it improves communities. Now, I'm going to discuss a few of our plan giving strategies. Some of these things can help you accomplish your specific goals. These are ways that you can start building your Rotary legacy today. Many of these techniques offer unique financial advantages that make them powerful tools as you strategize your plans for the future. Every one of you has a unique Rotary legacy, and I hope that you discover a few new ideas today about how you can enhance your personal impact. So first, our commitments. And this is kind of what I just talked about. Bequests are a great place to start because they are flexible. As I said, they're made through estates, through your will or a codicil, and by committing a fixed amount or a percentage of your assets, you can put resource to use after you no longer need them. So deciding to leave a bequest with the Rotary Foundation involves many considerations and may take a little bit of time. As I mentioned, you can easily make adjustments to these commitments in the future when your personal goals or circumstances change. There's no minimum amount to recognize you for bequests, and there's no restriction on age. So to make it even easier to plan, Rotary has joined with freewill.com. This is a resource for Rotarians who are looking to legally document simple and intuitive estate plans. So if you haven't made your will, if you feel like you should have, but you haven't, or if you haven't even thought about it, this is kind of a fun thing to go and play with and just kind of look around, see how you might like to structure it. It's a free service. It's available to all Rotarians, regardless of whether you include a gift to Rotary in your plan. This is just something that we offer. It's been fantastic because it's really also given folks the opportunity to learn a little bit more about this type of planning. Naming the Rotary Foundation the beneficiary of a retirement plan or a life insurance policy is another easy way to enhance your legacy without having to update your will. This method of giving may also simplify matters for your loved ones. You can direct all or a portion of what remains in an individual retirement account, for instance, to charity, and leave more tax-favored assets to heirs. There have been some changes in the rules related to IRAs, for instance, just recently, that require heirs to use them within a given amount of time. That, in addition to some of the estate tax implications for your heirs, make this kind of an attractive thing to do in the event that you don't really need the funds that you have. As your financial and family circumstances change over the years, much like a commitment, a bequest, you can very easily make changes. Another kind of interesting way to go is with a life insurance policy. Over the years, occasionally people do find that they are overinsured. And when that happens, a lot of times they'll make a charity the beneficiary of their life insurance policy. It's a good way to fund a whole variety of gifts. And as with bequests, there is no minimum amount, there are no age restrictions, and it's relatively easy to change. And neither bequests nor beneficiary designations have an effect on your income, but they can provide long-term support for people in need. So whichever method works best for you, please do remember to include the foundation's official legal name in your plans. It is the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International. So commitments are very popular. They're a great way to support the foundation because of their flexibility and their ease. Other plan giving tools are a little bit more restrictive, but they have some extraordinary advantages. Did you know that you can, in some situations, make a gift to the Rotary Foundation and we will pay you back regularly for the rest of your life? Life income agreements provide payments to you and even a loved one as well if they are over the age of 50. And that's at the time when the gift is funded. So a charitable gift annuity is a very popular option. They begin at $10,000. A gift annuity is a reliable way for individuals and couples to turn low yielding assets into a regular income stream. With rates ranging from about 4 to 9%, you can enjoy fixed payments for life. And these are backed by the unrestricted assets of the Rotary Foundation. So you can feel very secure in making a gift of this nature. And of course, you will also receive a charitable income tax deduction. These gifts receive Rotary recognition for their full face value. So this is a fantastic stepping stone if you are on your way to a major donor level or maybe to Arch Clump Society. The other kind of life income gift is a charitable remainder trust. Now, you might consider this if you are looking at giving a much larger gift, or if you're looking at making a gift of more illiquid assets, such as real estate. You can also get that annual payment stream, but unlike annuities, your annual payments will grow over time, typically because the value of the trust itself is growing over time. The payments are based on the value within the trust. Whereas with the gift annuity, that's a fixed payment. You know what it's going to be. It's always going to be that forever. So otherwise, the benefits between these two giving methods are very similar. So I talked about gifts that don't cost anything, your commitments, and gifts that create a reliable income stream to support you. And now I want to talk about something that's a little more unique. Imagine a charitable checking account that gives you the autonomy to recommend how that money is spent, as well as certain tax benefits. Now, a donor advised fund works like a family foundation without all of the hassles. This kind of gift provides you with an immediate income tax receipt, but you can take your time identifying appropriate charitable recipients, including transfers to the Rotary Foundation programs or any other IRS approved 501c3 public charity. And if you have, and if I recall correctly, I think you all have a foundation, a club foundation possibly, or district foundations. If those are 501c3 charities, they can also receive grants from a donor advised fund. So if you've already established a donor advised fund, maybe at an outside financial institution, keep in mind that this is a great vehicle for supporting your Rotary legacy. You can make gifts from that fund to the foundation. You can also make the Rotary Foundation the beneficiary of an account like this. You can oftentimes split it up as well to benefit several different charities. So there's one more important and interesting tool that I want to highlight. Earlier, I mentioned naming Rotary as the beneficiary of your retirement assets. You can also make outright gifts directly to the Rotary Foundation from your individual retirement account. This is often called the charitable IRA charitable rollover. And this allows you to avoid taxes on income while you help Rotary improve communities around the world. So if you are 70 and a half or better, you can transfer up to $100,000 a year from your IRA without paying federal income tax. Whether you need the funds in your IRA or not, at age 72, you will be required to take withdrawals and pay income tax on a portion of them each year. That is your RMD, or your required minimum distribution. Fortunately, direct transfers to charity start to count towards your RMD at age 72. So by giving directly to Rotary from your IRA, you can satisfy your RMD or a portion of it, but you won't increase your adjusted gross income. And I don't know if we have anybody old enough for this yet, but this approach can be particularly helpful if your current withdrawals subject your Social Security income to a higher level of taxation. This kind of helps you to mitigate that. So I hope that at least one of these sophisticated giving strategies will be a good fit for your specified financial and charitable goals. Do keep in mind that these are not necessarily tools that are exclusive to very large gifts. A lot of these things can be done with smaller gifts for people who are a little bit earlier in their charitable careers. Whether you choose to secure your vision with an outright gift or prefer the flexibility of commitments, you can enjoy peace of mind knowing that Rotary is prepared to fulfill your vision for the future. And that's really what we're interested in doing. We want to secure your vision to make sure that you can help those in the future, as those in the past have helped to secure ours. Now, either way, you're joining a 100-year tradition that unites leaders from all continents, cultures, and industries. You know a lot of these leaders as benefactors. They have made a gift to the endowment, either through their will or an outright gift. Some of them are bequest society or legacy society. That is awarded for larger commitments. And as I mentioned with our life income plans, certain planned gifts count towards major donor and Arch Club Society recognition instead. Now, there's even a new award to recognize clubs that achieve 100% member participation in endowment giving, either outright or through commitments, and that's called the Promise Club, Rotary's Promise Club. So one more thing before we do a little Q&A. I have 3 helpful links on the screen here. The first is rotary.org/legacy. This is where you can go to learn a little more about the endowment and share notification when you're ready to make a commitment. Rotary.org/plangiving is your first stop if you're interested in some specific financial strategies like the ones I've highlighted here, like those in life income gifts. In fact, if that is something that interests you, I recommend you go to the site. We do have some kind of fun calculators you can play with, plug your numbers in, just see what it might work out for your circumstances. And then, of course, I also have freewill.com, that free resource for Rotarians to create simple estate plans. So my contact information is here as well for any questions. I do, as I mentioned before, accept all conversations related to this material. I'm happy to help answer your questions, whether they result in a gift or not. I'm just thrilled to death to be able to educate people about these interesting ways to support the Rotary Foundation. So take your time, think about some of the topics that I've brought to light, and visit the websites for more information. I'll still be here when you're ready to talk. I thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. And I look forward to working with you to transform your dreams for the future into an impactful Rotary legacy.
Thank you, Katherine. Questions, please. Katherine, I have a question.
Sure.
So I didn't know that, I guess it's the interest from planned giving or interest from endowment fund giving that goes to district designated funds. And I'm wondering, generally speaking, I don't know if you know, because Tom had to leave, roughly speaking, how much of the total district designated funds that the district has to use comes from the endowment fund as opposed to the annual fund?
Well, that depends on how much your district is given to the endowment fund. So I'm not sure. As I mentioned, the named endowments that we have, I was able to just kind of pull those quickly to kind of take a look at what those came to. But just those gifts alone are bringing in about $15,000 in spendable earnings. So those spendable earnings are actually what's being generated from earned interest in the endowment. And the trustees decide every year sort of how much of that is getting sent out. They approve how much gets to go to programs in this case. And so for the most part, it depends on what your district has spent already in endowment gifts, or not what they've spent, but what they've given to the endowment.
Other questions for Katherine? I have one more, but I want to see if anyone else has any questions. Anyone online? Let's see. Oh, I was going to ask about branding. And kind of your experience, and maybe Eric also, part of why we did this is it seems like the endowment fund doesn't get the same level of attention when we're looking at, how much are we going to get in terms of grants and all of this, and polio clearly gets a lot of attention because it's on our radar screens. Do you find that the endowment fund is a little bit under the radar? And if so, what do you all do to try to, other than things like this, to kind of keep the endowment fund on people's radar screens?
Well, you're right. It is a little under the radar. And, you know, a lot of that, I believe, is because people want to make an immediate impact. They really want to see their dollars at work now. And they see what's happening in the world. They get passionate about wanting to make a difference in a particular area. And they want to put those dollars to work right away. I think that there's a little bit of a misconception that the endowment is just kind of sitting stagnant. The slide that I showed kind of early on that showed all of the different things that the endowment funds is really important. As I said, the trustees, they decide every year how much is coming out. And generally speaking, if I recall correctly, it's about 4 to 6% maybe they distribute to the annual fund every year. But the endowment is really, the real purpose of that is to generate more income. So it is invested, it is kind of tended so that we have maximum growth to fund the programs that the Rotary Foundation serves. So that money isn't used immediately. It does sit and it does grow a little bit, but every single year, once you make a gift to the endowment fund, that's generating. That's just in there churning and generating those funds. So it is really important. I think that this misconception that the endowment is just kind of a, you know, it's a great big pot of money that no one has access to. It's not quite right, but I think that may be kind of an attitude that people have because we haven't really discussed it very much. We are trying to raise the profile. Rotary's Promise Club is one way that we're trying to do that. I believe that there are some soft goals related to endowment giving this year for districts. And that's another way just to kind of raise that profile. Rotary's Promise Club, as I mentioned, is a club recognition that allows for folks to give to the endowment, whether currently or to make a commitment in their estate, and kind of build that participation within the club. And so what we're really hoping is that as more clubs kind of, you know, jump on that bandwagon, everyone will be seeing, oh, what is this Rotary's Promise Club? How do we get that? So that's one way we're trying to raise the profile. It is also integral to our 25 25 by 2025 initiative. So we do have some endowment goals we're trying to raise. Some of this is also about the planning related to World Fund and being able to support and fund all of the amazing grant applications that we get. You know, the last thing that we want to do is run out of funds in the World Fund for those global grants. And, you know, the Endowment Fund does help with some of that as well. So it's slow going, but yes, we are trying to raise the profile. We haven't straight up branded the endowment as we have with Polio Plus, for instance. And we don't talk about it the way that we talk about the annual fund, but we're starting to. We're starting to really try and impress upon Rotarians how important the endowment is to our operations.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions for Katherine?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Hi, Katherine. So for the endowment fund, as I understand it, then if I wanted to leave a $10,000 when I pass, okay, but my wife, and I pass before my wife does the endowment start then, or does the endowment start when she passes?
Well, that depends on how you want to structure it. So in an example of that nature, and certainly estate planning really does take a family view. So we know you have family, we know you have a desire to provide security for your family when you're gone. So we take that into consideration. And oftentimes what folks will do is in their estate plan, they will have provisions for charity. And they might say, I want to leave 2% to the Rotary Foundation, or the residual after all of the rest of my family is supported. All the rest of these things get paid, whatever's left that can go to the Rotary Foundation. And usually those kinds of provisions are, they have what's called a contingency. And so you can make it, you can set it up, you can plan it so that that gift is made at your passing, or you can set it up so that it is made after the death of the survivor. And I apologize, that language sounds terrible. But basically what that means is that you're not going to be paying out all of that until after both of you have passed on. That way you don't have to worry about providing security, for your loved ones before, and paying out a gift like this before they pass away. You still can maintain whatever security they need for their lives. And then after that, then the gift will pay.
Okay. And does that have to be in the will?
Typically it is. Yeah, typically they put those kinds of things in the will. It just depends on how you structure it. If you're looking at something like an IRA or beneficiary designations, oftentimes will give you the opportunity to say, well, after my first beneficiary is my spouse. And then the final beneficiary is a charity. So oftentimes you have those options, and all you really need to do is kind of check the paperwork, go on the website for your retirement plan and check and see what kinds of forms they have and whether or not they have the ability to do that. Most of them do. It's pretty common.
Now, does the will have to have a very detailed explanation of how this works, or just references Rotary?
No, not at all. In fact, on our site, we have a sample language that you can cut and paste if you want to. Basically, all you need to say is, I, Joe Bob, I leave X amount of dollars or 2% of my estate to this charity. And then what you want to do is put that legal name. That's why I sort of put up that the legal name of the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International. Because if you go and you look for the Rotary Foundation, you will come up with a jillion of them, mainly because districts and clubs have foundations. So you want to make sure you put in the correct name. And oftentimes you can get the EIN number, just so that you can say, this is the specific foundation that I want this to go to.
Okay.
So it's pretty simple. You can use very simple, common language. You don't have to use a lot of legalese if you're doing something yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Katherine? Katherine and Eric, thank you both so much. This was very helpful, and we very much appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. By the way, did anybody know what Paul Harris's middle name is?
Albert.
No, Percy. His middle name is Percy. Percy, yes.
That's a good trivia question.
I know. I love that. I thought that was really kind of funny.
Okay. We really do appreciate it. And again, when we stop recording, forget to do that. Okay.